Greetings and welcome to Fan Fiction Reader. I'm thrilled to bring fanfiction to life through audio. I put a lot of effort into these readings, so if you're enjoying the journey, please consider giving the video a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. Your support means a lot. Now, let's dive into the story.
Chapter 61-61 Volume 1 Chapter 61 A Strange Combination Chapter 61 A Strange Combination Simple? In fact, this is not simple at all. Is it simple that a trading company, covering half of the continent, can deliver news so quickly? Don't forget, this is Arkland, not an Earth where information explodes, everyone has a mobile phone, and the internet reaches thousands of families. The fact that Marketal Trading Company can do this in Ark continent fully demonstrates its strength. As expected, no one is willing to provoke such a trading house, not even an empire is willing to provoke such a trading house. Too dangerous. Zhao Hai listened to Green's words quietly, and he realized that he had really underestimated the world. Although this world was not as technologically advanced as the Earth, it had its own very unique development trajectory, and his understanding of this world understanding is still too little. After thinking for a while, Zhao Hai said to Green, "Grandpa Green, why do you think they are paying attention to us? There are so many magicians on the mainland, they won't pay attention to every one of them, right?" Green smiled and said, "The reason is because, young master, you are a black magician. Black magicians will be watched no matter where they go, especially since we have not gone to Taishan from Montenegro, so it is like suddenly if it appears, of course they will pay more attention." Zhao Hai nodded and said, "Then shall we leave tomorrow?" Green nodded and said, "Yes, we will leave tomorrow. Master, it will cost us 2 gold coins to stay in a hotel like this for 1 night. To be honest, if we stay for a few more nights, I'm afraid we will really can't afford to live there." Zhao Hai smiled bitterly for a while. Money is really a problem. Think about other time travelers, as soon as they arrive in another world, they immediately spend a lot of money, or they are in a high position, and the beauties are crying and shouting to be rejected. But now that I have a broken territory, I have to worry about the food and drink for more than 100 people, and I have to avoid attacks from monsters from time to time. The most disgusting thing is that even though I have the cheating tool of space, I still have to worry about it. Now I am still so poor that I can't even afford a hotel. When Green saw Zhao Hai's appearance, he thought that Zhao Hai felt sorry for their current situation. He quickly comforted Zhao Hai and said, "Master, we will have money when we sell the carrots. Master, don't be sad." Zhao Hai couldn't explain anything to Green, so he could only smile and say, "I'm fine, but we don't want to stay in such a hotel in the future. Find a place outside the city and let's live in space." Green nodded and said, "I will only stay here for this day to attract the attention of the Magical family. I will not live here anymore." Zhao Hai nodded and then looked at the room carefully. Not to mention, this room was really not small. It had a living room, 5 bedrooms, and a bathroom. It was really good. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Green quickly stood up and went to open the door. A waiter stood outside the door, holding a large tray in his hand. There were several breads and 3 dinner plates on the tray. The dishes inside arrived. "It's not bad." Green took the plate, gave the waiter a few copper coins as a tip, and sent the waiter away. Little did he know that after the waiter went downstairs, he immediately ran outside a very hidden room in the store. Knocked on the door, and the fat boss's voice came from inside, "Come in." The waiter pushed the door open and walked in. It was a bedroom with very simple furnishings. Apart from a bed, there was only a table and a chair. The fat boss was sitting on the chair with a pen in his hand. "I don't know what I'm writing." Hearing the sound of the door, he said without raising his head, "Did you find anything?" The waiter stood there respectfully and said in a deep voice, "Their status may not be simple, they may be from noble families, but their lives should not be very good. What I brought them was just some ordinary meals and they didn't use said anything, and he tipped me naturally, but not much." The fat boss nodded and waved his hand. The waiter turned and left. However, the fat boss sat there and meditated. As the intelligence chief of the Magical family here in Montenegro, he still did a good job in intelligence work. Yes, the reason is that he is very careful and good at observing people. Just now, he specifically asked the waiter to deliver some food that was not the best just to see who Zhao Hai and the others were, and to determine what status Zhao Hai and the others belonged to from their reactions. On the mainland, only nobles tip waiters. Under normal circumstances, even businessmen do not tip waiters, so the waiter judged from this that Zhao Hai and the others might be nobles. The nobles generally have very high requirements for food and drink, but Zhao Hai and the others are in a bit of a miserable situation now, so naturally they don't have too many requirements. In addition, the tip given is only copper coins, so the waiter said Zhao Hai their life is not very good. This really puts the fat boss in a bit of trouble. You have to know that although a magician has the same status as a noble, many of them are not real nobles. If a noble is a magician, he will definitely be reused by the country. There is no need to be too miserable, so the reaction of Zhao Hai and the others made the fat boss really unable to judge their identities for a while. In the end, the fat boss wrote down all these situations and then came to a secret room from a secret door behind the bedroom. In this secret room was a row of cages, and in each cage there was an eagle-like eagle. Warcraft. This kind of warcraft is called wind falcon. It is a fast-flying warcraft. After being trained by others, it is usually used to deliver messages. The fat boss caught a wind falcon. He first picked up the fresh meat next to it and fed it to him. Then he carefully rolled up the information he had written and put it in a small bamboo tube on the paw of the wind falcon. After sealing it with wax, I took the wind falcon outside and let it fly. It is naturally impossible for a big family like Majdal to pay attention to every little thing, but the appearance of Zhao Hai and the others was too sudden. Coupled with his identity as a black magician, the fat boss have to watch them. For people, black magicians represent negative words such as danger, gloominess, and weirdness. As long as a black magician appears in a place, he will definitely be noticed by all forces, and these forces generally treat black magicians. Adopt a method that neither offends nor makes friends, so the fat boss pays so much attention to Zhao Hai and the others. However, these things that the fat boss did were already within Green's expectation. He had thought of such a situation when he asked Zhao Hai to pretend to be a black magician. This was exactly the effect they wanted. By acting in such a high-profile manner, no one would naturally associate them with the Buddha family, which would make it safer for them to rebel. Zhao Hai and the others rested after dinner. They did not go to Montenegro for a stroll. Don't forget that Zhao Hai is a black magician now. A black magician will not go shopping idle. After talking about Haitian fortress, but it was very chaotic. In order to avoid trouble, Zhao Hai and the others would not go out and hang out. Fortunately, Zhao Hai is a homebody and doesn't really like to go shopping, so he doesn't feel any discomfort. In addition, due to the rush these days, he is very tired, and now he can have a good rest in such a good place. After a while, he was naturally very willing. The day passed peacefully, but everyone in Montenegro knew that a black magician had arrived in Montenegro, but no one messed with him. Everyone hoped that Zhao Hai and the others would leave quickly. Zhao Hai and the others also fulfilled those people's wishes, and they left Montenegro fortress early the next morning. Zhao Hai and the others still left on the bodies of the aliens, which made those mercenaries very envious. There are 3 roads coming out of Montenegro. The road on the left leads to the grain-producing base of the Principality of Versailles, the Ica Plain. It is the fiefdom of the Versailles family. The terrain is very flat and suitable for growing white wheat. There is a large amount of slaves worked there for the Versailles family. The road on the right leads to Baker Forest, which is the main source of timber in the Principality of Versailles. Similarly, it is also the fiefdom of the Versailles family and one of the main sources of income for the Versailles family. Under normal circumstances, few people go to these 2 roads, because the Versailles family's fiefdom there is mostly filled with slaves and there are no business opportunities, so naturally no one wants to go there. The road in the middle leads to Casa City, the largest city in the Principality of Versailles and the capital of the Principality of Versailles, known as the Northern Pearl of the Aksu Empire. Of course, Zhao Hai and the others do not want to travel to grain-producing areas or lumber yards. They are here to sell radishes, so they naturally want to go to Casa City, where the business is very prosperous. In the next few days, Zhao Hai and the others were still on the road, but now they didn't seem to be in the black soil wasteland. After walking in the black soil wasteland for 3 days, they didn't see a single person, and what they saw it's all black soil, but now they are in the Principality of Versailles, and there are a lot of people here. You can see a lot of pedestrians and convoys on the road, and you can also see forests or farmland beside the road. However, because Zhao Hai and the others are so powerful, they will hide away when others see them. Even so, Zhao Hai is very satisfied. Anyway, he can finally see people without having to look like before. So boring and on the way. Just think about it. There is a warrior who looks like an iron pot sitting on the head of a huge skeleton, and there is also an extremely weird black magician in black robes sitting in the chest, although there is also a sweet-looking little beauty sitting next to him. But this combination itself is very strange, not to mention the evil reputation of the black magician. It would be strange if the people on the road don't avoid them. In the past few days, Zhao Hai and the others have also done what they said before. Even if they passed through those small towns, they did not live in the city. Instead, they went outside the city, found a deserted place, and then returned to the space. This made their whereabouts seem a little erratic and even more strange. Chapter 62-62 Volume 1 Chapter 62 The Weird Village Chapter 62 The Weird Village Nowadays, there are many big families on the mainland who have noticed Zhao Hai and his group. In a place like Montenegro, it is naturally impossible for only the Majdal family to set up an intelligence point there. In fact, many big families on the mainland have their intelligence points there. Some of these intelligence points are just storefronts, while others are actually a mercenary group. Those big families set up intelligence points here not to investigate any major military affairs. In a place like Montenegro, it is impossible for any major military events to happen. The main purpose of setting up an intelligence point here is only one: talent. Most of the great nobles here in Ark continent are those who have been passed down for more than 1,000 years. Such great nobles are naturally very aware of the importance of talents to them, and for a noble, a powerful warrior is still of great help to them. Yes, so places like Montenegro Fortress where adventurers and mercenaries gather, there will be intelligence officers sent by major families there in order to discover those warriors with potential and bring them into the family to become members of the family. One point of strength. It is precisely because of this that when Zhao Hai and others appeared in Black Mountain Fortress, many big families received the news and have been watching them. But those who were paying attention to Zhao Hai and the others obviously miscalculated. They did not expect that Zhao Hai and the others did not live in the city, but went to live outside the city, and they usually went to the space to rest at night. This makes it impossible for those who want to follow them to discover their whereabouts, which makes it very strange. However, the performance of Zhao Hai and others made those people even more sure that he was a black magician. And those people following Zhao Hai did not want to win over him, but they were afraid that Zhao Hai and the others would be detrimental to their family. Although ordinary nobles would also recruit some black magicians, they generally knew the black magicians well. No one from Ilusi was willing to recruit black magicians, so no one came into contact with Zhao Hai and the others. Zhao Hai and the others didn't know that someone was following them. They still moved forward at their own speed. Now they were not moving very fast. There were too many pedestrians on the road. Of course, they couldn't go too fast, otherwise they might get into accidents of. Even if you ride a horse from Montenegro to Casa City, it will take 7 days. Zhao Hai and the others are going at about the same speed as riding horses, and it will take about 7 days to get to Casa City. They have been walking for 3 days now. During these 3 days, they ran through 2 small cities and numerous small villages. This shows that the Principality of Versailles is still very prosperous. On the morning of the 4th day, Zhao Hai and the others came out of the space together as usual and hurried on as usual. Fortunately, it was not the rainy season yet, so although the road was a dirt road, it was very smooth and the aliens walked without any bumps. But today, Zhao Hai felt a little strange as he walked along. How should I put it, something seemed to be missing. Zhao Hai looked around in confusion, wondering what was missing. When Zhao Hai was puzzled, Meg said, "Master, it's strange. We have been walking for more than 2 hours, but we still haven't found anyone passing by. At this time every day, there are already many people." Upon hearing what Meg said, Zhao Hai finally realized that something was wrong. They had not met anyone for more than 2 hours from morning to now. No wonder he felt so weird, as if something was missing. It turned out to be there are fewer people. Zhao Hai felt something was wrong and immediately said in a deep voice, "Stop." The alien stopped immediately. Zhao Hai stood up, held the alien's ribs, and said to Green, "Grandpa Green, did something happen? Why have we walked for so long and still haven't met anyone?" Green nodded and said, "I have noticed it a long time ago, but don't worry, young master, let's go forward. I really want to see what happened. Anyway, the young master can hide in the space, and there is no need to worry. People can find you." Zhao Hai smiled bitterly for a while. He thought Green hadn't noticed it. He didn't expect that Green had noticed it a long time ago. Moreover, although what he said was a bit irresponsible, it was also reasonable. They couldn't just ignore it just because they didn't know what was going on. If they move forward, then they don't have to do anything. When he thought of this, Zhao Hai couldn't help but nodded, waved his hand and said, "Okay, let's go." The alien started immediately and was still moving forward at a constant speed. It really seemed a bit unhurried the meaning of. However, Zhao Hai and Meg became nervous. They were both people who had never seen a big scene. They were not as calm as Green. Both of them were a little restless and paid attention to the surrounding situation. It seemed that there might be something happening at any time in the surrounding woods. It's like a monster rushing out. But what surprised Zhao Hai and the others was that they walked all morning without encountering anyone. Even in the villages they passed by, no one was worried and everyone seemed to be missing. When passing by a village, they went into the village and took a closer look. There was no one in that village. But what surprised Zhao Hai and the others was that it didn't look like they had been attacked. It seemed that all the villagers were there. He left by himself, but the strange thing is that the villagers obviously left just after getting up. There was no fire in the stove at home, and the quilt was not folded. It seemed that they didn't even put on their clothes before they got up from the quilt. Just left. There wasn't even a chicken or a dog in the whole tree. It was completely dead. Coupled with the messy beds, Zhao Hai and the others couldn't help but feel chilled. This village was too weird. It looked weirder than theirs. The combination is much weirder. Green looked at the village carefully for a long time, but still didn't find anything, but his face became even more gloomy. He turned to Zhao Hai and said, "Zhao Hai, call your grandma Malin out, she may be able to see something." Zhao Hai responded, immediately opened the space and called Merlin out. Merlin had been paying attention to the situation outside, and naturally knew what was happening outside, so after she came out, she didn't say much and just looked around carefully. He glanced at it, then closed his eyes and softly recited a few spells. A ball of blue light appeared on her body, and then spread out like sunlight. The light flashed for about 5 minutes before slowly disappearing. Merlin also slowly opened his eyes, but said to Zhao Hai and the others with a solemn face, "Young master, someone here used the temptation technique of black magic to attract all the living creatures in the village. I don't know where to go." "Got there?" Zhao Hai was stunned and said, "Black magic? You mean there has been a black magician here?" Merlin nodded and said, "Although some time has passed, and the magic energy here has almost disappeared, I can still be sure that someone has used black magic here." Zhao Hai and Green's expressions both darkened. They were sure that the fact that they didn't meet anyone on the road today must have something to do with this matter, and this matter might even implicate them. Don't forget, Zhao Hai's current identity is a black magician, and there is a black magician here who uses black magic. So many people have been taken away. This situation must not be hidden anymore. What might happen then? Merlin can find that there are black magicians here who have used magic, and other magicians can also. When the time comes, people will know that the disappearance of people here is related to the black magicians, and Zhao Hai may also become a target of suspicion. This is what Green and Zhao Hai are worried about. The black magician who seduced so many people at once will definitely not do anything good. If he does something bad, it will bring a lot of trouble to Zhao Hai. Now what Zhao Hai fears most is trouble. Merlin had obviously thought of this. He turned to Zhao Hai and said, "Master, why don't we stop pretending to be black magicians, otherwise we will bring you big trouble." Zhao Hai shook his head and said, "Besides this black magician, if I pretend to be anyone else, people may discover our identity faster. In that case, we will be more dangerous." "Grandma Merlin, can you feel it? In what direction did the black magician lead the people here? Let's chase after him to see if this trouble can be solved. If this trouble can be solved, that would be the best. Even if it cannot be solved, don't let the mortals. People from the Seer family are suspicious of us. It is impossible for the Versailles family to ignore such a big thing. This is their family's territory. The people who live here are their subjects and pay taxes like theirs. Naturally, they have the obligation to ensure that they safety. There is only one way for Zhao Hai to dissuade others from suspecting him, which is to find the real murderer and hand that guy over to the Versailles family, so that he will naturally not be suspected. Although Green doesn't want Zhao Hai to have any interaction with the Versailles family, but when things have reached this point, this is the only way to prevent Zhao Hai from being suspected. After all, they are now on the territory of the Versailles family. If Zhao Hai if he is suspected by the Versailles family, the trouble will be even greater. Otherwise, his identity will soon be revealed to the gang, and now Zhao Hai's identity must not be revealed to the gang. Merlin was also looking at Green. He wanted to know if Green agreed with Zhao Hai. If Green agreed, then she would find a way to find out the direction of the magician and get that guy out. Green also knew what Merlin meant, and he could only nod impatiently and said, "Okay, just do as the young master said, find that guy and hand him over to the Versailles family, so that our next plan can continue." Merlin nodded and used the magic just now, but this time it took longer, a full 10 minutes to complete. After the magic was completed, Merlin pointed in the direction to Casa City and said, "It's in that direction, and maybe it's for this reason that we didn't meet anyone along the way." Chapter 63-63 Volume 1 Chapter 63 The Immoral Mercenary Group Chapter 63 Immoral Mercenary Group. Zhao Hai and Merlin both nodded, but this matter was a bit strange. Normally, some people would go from Montenegro to Casa City every day, but today it was weird. No one came from Montenegro. Heading towards Casa City, Zhao Hai and the others have not met anyone so far. In fact, Zhao Hai and the others didn't know that caravans had already passed their route very early in the morning. However, after walking for a while, These caravans discovered something was wrong and immediately retreated to the small town behind. Then he told the news to the merchants behind him. Now many people from Haishan fortress stopped in a small town that Zhao Hai and the others passed by, preparing to form a larger caravan and hire more from Haishan fortress. Some mercenaries came and then left. But Zhao Hai and the others didn't know that Zhao Hai had been feeling very tired because of the rush in the past few days, so he got up a little late. Those caravans set off at dawn, 2 or 3 ahead of them. Hours, so Zhao Hai didn't know this. It was precisely because those merchants blocked the people who came after them that Zhao Hai and the others did not see the people coming from Haishan fortress, and this strange scene occurred. In fact, not only Zhao Hai doesn't understand, but even Green doesn't understand. There are many thieves on the mainland, and they may encounter attacks from wild beasts in the wild. Therefore, some caravans are very careful. If they find anything wrong, they will immediately enter one. In the city, he will then team up with other caravans to move forward. Of course, Zhao Hai doesn't know these things, and Green doesn't know either. The Buddha family didn't have its own caravan before, so he doesn't know much about these things either. This will happen. Zhao Hai and the others were still moving forward. They had already encountered 5 villages along the way. As a result, all the people in them disappeared. These villages were not too big, but the total number of people in these 5 villages was 1,000. There were so many people, and all of them disappeared, not just the people, but everything alive in the village disappeared. The more Zhao Hai and the others walked forward, the more frightened they became. Not only were more and more people missing, but Merlin felt that the energy of the black magic was getting stronger and more terrifying. According to Merlin's estimation, if he used seduction frequently and seduced so many people at once, the black magician's strength would have reached at least level 8, which is the same level as Merlin. Although Merlin estimated that the opponent's strength was at the same level as hers, Merlin had to admit that if they really fought, she might not be able to beat the opponent, because the black magic was too weird, and she was not sure. However, Zhao Hai is not too worried. He still has Green around. If it doesn't work, he can still hide in the space. He doesn't believe that the other party can still chase him into the space. The speed of the alien did not speed up, nor did it slow down. It was still moving forward so leisurely. This is a characteristic of Zhao Hai. No matter when he pursues stability, he will remind himself to calm down, because he once learned a sentence when he was in school: always stay calm when facing big events, and he has always regarded this sentence as his motto. So at this time, Zhao Hai kept reminding himself to be calm. He carefully observed the situation around him. Although he couldn't see anything now, he was still very careful and always prepared to deal with emergencies. Merlin sat beside Zhao Hai with his eyes closed. Green sat on the head of the alien, as if he had fallen asleep, and Meg had been sent back to space by Zhao Hai. But what surprised Zhao Hai was that they walked for a whole day without encountering anything. It was after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Although there was still no one on the road, they did not encounter any attacks and everything was calm. Surprisingly, just when Zhao Hai was about to stop and rest, Merlin suddenly opened his eyes and said, "Master, go back to the space. I feel that there is strong black magic energy in front of me. It seems that the other party is already prepared." Zhao Hai was stunned, but he also knew that he could not help much by staying. He nodded and entered the space in a flash, but the alien did not go in, but stayed outside, still carrying the 2 people on his back and walking forward. As soon as Zhao Hai entered the space, he immediately entered the thatched house and looked at the screen. What surprised him was that the scene on the screen was still moving, as if he was still sitting on the back of the alien. This made Zhao Hai stun for a moment, and then he slapped his head violently. He was really dizzy. He could see something 100 meters away from the point where he entered the space, as the center on the screen. But if that point can be moved, can he see more things? He had never thought of this before. When he came in just now, he did not put the alien away. He originally wanted to help Green and Merlin when necessary, but he forgot to tell the alien to stop, so the alien was still moving forward, which also allowed him to discover the secret. It turns out that if he enters the space on a moving object, the image on the screen will always move. The most important point is that the space can be moved, and he does not need to stay in it. You can move forward outside. Damn it, why didn't I think of it before? If I had thought of it before, then let the alien walk outside. He could do whatever he wanted to do while hiding in the human world, and he wouldn't have to work so hard on the road outside. However, Zhao Hai was not in the mood to think too much at this time. He also wanted to see what the black magician wanted to do. Merlin and Green had been focusing their attention on the front, so they didn't think too much. The alien was still moving forward unhurriedly, and the dark magic energy that Merlin felt was getting stronger and stronger. Suddenly there were shouts and the sound of weapons clashing in front of them. Green and Merlin's expressions tightened. They knew that what they had been waiting for all day finally happened. At this moment, the alien suddenly stopped and the two of them were stunned. Then Zhao Hai suddenly appeared on the back of the alien and said to them, "Grandpa Green, Grandma Merlin, let's go into the space, alien. Moving forward, we can still see what's happening ahead." Green and Merlin were stunned for a moment, but after thinking about it, they understood what Zhao Hai meant. Their faces were happy, and then Green shook his head and said, "No, Master, we still won't go in. If we go in, if the other party discovers the secret of the space, then the gain outweighs the loss." Zhao Hai was stunned for a moment, then nodded and said, "Okay, then I won't go in. When necessary, I can release the captured undead creatures to help, so that others will only think that I am a black man. Magicians will not discover the secrets of space." Green and Merlin both frowned. They really didn't want Zhao Hai to take this risk, but if Zhao Hai entered the space and undead creatures appeared, the secrets of the space might be exposed. This really put them in a dilemma. Green thought for a while, then turned to Zhao Hai and said, "Young master, if you want to stay outside, that's fine, but you'd better call Merlin out and ask her to stay by your side." "That'll do." Zhao Hai nodded and called out Merlin. Now Zhao Hai also discovered that as long as he thinks about calling someone in the space, the people in the space can hear him. And if the people in the space want to call someone, they can hear it. When he talks, he just needs to tap the screen, and he can hear a buzzing sound similar to the one in QQ asking to be added as a friend, and then after getting his permission, you can talk to him. This discovery really made Zhao Hai very happy. It would make his connection with the space more convenient and save him from having to go into the space to call people. After Meg was called out, she immediately sat next to Zhao Hai and looked around carefully, ready to protect Zhao Hai at any time. When he saw Meg coming out, Zhao Hai ordered the alien to move forward, but this time he was much more careful. Green had already stood up, with a looming fighting spirit on his body, ready to take action at any time. After walking more than 1,000 meters, they arrived at a small slope. Zhao Hai and the others finally saw what was happening in front of them. In front of the slope, a large group of undead creatures were besieging a caravan, and the caravan was on the way. Carrying the flag of the flower of the other side, it turned out to be the caravan of the Magical family. At this moment, Green noticed that there was also a flag planted next to the landslope. This flag was all black with a white skull painted on it, which looked a bit like the pirates Zhao Hai had seen on Earth before flag, but not exactly the same. When Green saw this flag, he couldn't help but change his expression, because through this flag, he thought of an organization, a notorious organization on the mainland, the Immortal Mercenary Group. The Immortal Mercenary Group is one of the most powerful mercenary groups on the mainland, but it is also one of the smallest mercenary groups on the mainland, because this mercenary group only uses 8 core members. Generally speaking, 8 people cannot be called a mercenary group and can only be regarded as a small adventure group. However, the team composed of 8 people is called a mercenary group on the mainland because these 8 people are all Black Magic Division. This mercenary group has existed for decades. In these decades, this mercenary group has taken on more than 1,000 missions, and in more than 500 of them, they killed their employers and robbed goods. Later, no one dared to ask them to do tasks anymore, so they just started robbing and became a band of thieves. Of course, there are many mercenary groups on the mainland who do this. If this is the case, they will not be remembered by everyone on the mainland. The most important point is that every time they act, they will kill all nearby civilians. Killing them, then turning them into undead creatures and using these undead creatures to attack the target is extremely cruel. It's not like no one on the mainland has thought about dealing with them. Once, the Immortal Mercenary Group actually tampered with the goods of the Xenia family, a famous business family on the mainland. The Xenia family sent experts to hunt down them. Among the 8 members of the Immortal Mercenary Group, 7 died and the last one was seriously injured. People on the mainland originally thought that the Immortal Mercenary Group would disappear from then on, but they did not expect that the only remaining member of the Immortal Mercenary Group did something extremely crazy. Chapter 64-64 Volume 1, Chapter 64. Take them in Chapter 64, accept them just when everyone thought that the Immortal Mercenary Group had no hope of turning around. The last Black Magician of the Immortal Mercenary Group actually used his last life force to stimulate 10 times the magic power, and destroyed the other 7. Already the dead Black Magician became a high-level undead creature. When he was dying, he gave an order to the 7 undead creatures to use black magic to turn him into an undead creature. You know, if a Black Magician turns a person into an undead creature, that person becomes his slave. Generally, low-level undead creatures have little intelligence and low strength, but a high-level undead creature, a living creature with strong fighting power and high intelligence. If the black magician dies, the person turned into an undead creature by him will become a free undead creature and will no longer be subject to any restrictions. Of course, if a black magician wants to make a high-level undead creature, he also needs very powerful magic power. If he only needs magic power, it doesn't matter. The most important thing is that he has to give up his life force. Even if it is a powerful for an 8th level black magician, as long as he makes 20 high-level undead creatures, his life will be considered to have come to an end. Therefore, no ordinary black magician can make high-level undead creatures. There is no way to upgrade an artificially created undead creature like a naturally occurring undead creature. When you create it, it will always be as strong as it is when you create it, and it cannot be upgraded again. The black magician himself was seriously injured and was about to die. Naturally, he was not afraid of wasting his life force. He used secret techniques to stimulate his magic power 10 times. Only then did he complete the creation of the 7 high-level immortal black magicians. Then when he was about to die, he gave them the order to let the 7 of them turn him into a high-level undead creature. This plan is so crazy. He turned those 7 people into undead black magicians, but he died. In other words, those 7 people became free undead creatures. You don't have to listen to him, so then it's really hard to say whether 7 people will turn him into a high-level undead creature. Even if his plan succeeds, and those 7 people turn him into a high-level undead creature, then he will only be an undead creature from now on, unable to eat, sleep, or enjoy all the things that humans can enjoy. It no longer makes sense to them. Is it really worth it? No one can answer. Maybe only the people from the undead mercenary group can answer. But they won't answer, because that person's plan succeeded, and the 7 partners he turned into undead creatures in turn turned him into undead creatures. Now the undead mercenary group is truly worthy of its name. What good things can a mercenary group composed of 8 immortal black magicians do? The answer is impossible. It is impossible for these 8 guys to do anything good. Instead, they turned into Bengali and became the most notorious gang of thieves on the mainland. But under normal circumstances, they don't dare to offend those big families anymore. Although the 8 of them have become undead creatures, their strength has declined somewhat. If they really offend those big families, they may be killed. Went out. Although the name of undead creatures is undead, they only exist when they are not attacked. If they are chased by an expert, they will be stunned. The crazy behavior of the immortal mercenary group also makes those big families feel very scared. In the eyes of those big families, the people of the immortal mercenary group are just a group of lunatics, so they will not easily provoke these guys. Ordinarily, they have become undead creatures and have no desire anymore, so they should not be robbing. However, the people of the undead mercenary group are different. Not only are they robbing, but they are robbing even more fiercely than before. This is very disturbing. You don't understand, but you can't ask them, and the big families on the mainland are unwilling to provoke them, so the matter has been dragged on, and the undead mercenary group has been at large. It is precisely because of these reasons that the immortal mercenary group has always been famous on the mainland, and it is the kind that no one wants to offend. The immortal mercenary group has such a great prestige. Green has naturally heard of it, and it is precisely because he has heard of it that his face becomes so ugly. To be honest, he didn't want to offend the immortal mercenary group. This mercenary group was now a group of lunatics. If he really offended them, it would bring disastrous consequences to the Buddha family. Green took a look at the flag, and there was no mistake. It was the flag of the immortal mercenary group. They planted the flag here to tell people passing by that the immortal mercenary group was doing business in front of them. It was best not to cause trouble, otherwise it means being an enemy of the undead mercenary group. Green turned to Zhao Hai and said, "Master, let's retreat first. I have something to tell you." Zhao Hai was watching the battle ahead. When he heard what Green said, he nodded quickly and asked the alien to retreat. The alien retreated down the slope silently, and no one seemed to notice them on the battlefield. After retreating from the hillside, Green pointed to the woods next to him. Zhao Hai nodded and directed the alien to crawl into the woods. He found a hidden place in the woods and followed Merlin and the 3 of them into the space. As soon as he entered the space, Green called Zhao Hai and Merlin into the room, and then briefly told Zhao Hai about the undead mercenary group. Merlin also knew a little bit about the undead mercenary group, but he didn't know much about wood, stone, and mag. After all, they had lived in the imperial capital since they were young and had never left. Zhao Hai listened calmly to Green's story. He really didn't expect that this undead mercenary group would be so crazy. However, when he heard that 8 of the other people had turned into undead creatures, his eyes lit up. After Green finished speaking, Zhao Hai stood up and stomped slowly around the room, touching his forehead while stomping. After a while, he stopped, slammed the table hard and murmured, "Let's do it, give it a try." Green and the others looked at Zhao Hai in confusion. Zhao Hai turned to look at Green and said with a smile on his face, "Grandpa Green, did you just say that the 8 people in the undead mercenary group turned into undead creatures?" Green nodded, and Zhao Hai chuckled and said, "Then do you remember how undead creatures will react when they enter the space?" When Zhao Hai said this, Green was really stunned for a moment, then his eyes lit up. He slammed the table and said, "Yes, make them our own." Merlin also reacted at this time. Of course they understood what Zhao Hai meant by what he said. They captured more than 1,000 undead creatures and brought them into the space. Without exception, they were all transformed into one of their own by the space. Just like aliens, the 8 people in the undead mercenary group are also undead creatures. Can we capture them into space and let space make them our own? Merlin and the others couldn't help but get excited when they thought of this. Although they had captured many undead creatures before, they were mostly animal-shaped and very few human-shaped. Even if there were, they were only low-level ones and not too high-level ones. Naturally, he has no wisdom and cannot help them. But these undead black magicians in the undead mercenary group are different. They are all advanced undead creatures with high intelligence and have retained their memories of their lives. If they can be turned into members of the Buddha family, what will happen to Buddha? The family is very helpful. What the Buddha family lacks now is force. If they can subdue the undead mercenary group, then they will have a very strong armed force. Even if others want to attack the Buddha family, they have to think carefully. Okay. When they thought of this, several people became excited. Zhao Hai looked at them and couldn't help but smile and continued, "And we can also help the Magidal family, which will be very beneficial to our future actions." When Green heard what Zhao Hai said, he calmed down. He immediately understood that if he helped the Magidal family now, it would be really good for them. Machiter Trading House is one of the famous large trading houses on the mainland. If we establish a relationship with them, it will have unimaginable benefits for the future development of the Buddha family. What can a large trading house bring to a big family? That's not just a massive amount of gold coins, but also a complete intelligence network. Green nodded, stood up and said, "Master, let's go now. If it's too late, I'm afraid the people at Marketal Trading Company won't be able to withstand it." Zhao Hai nodded and said, "Okay, Wood, Stone, you two stay in the space and take care of those slaves. Your goals are too big, so don't go out. Grandpa Green, let's go." After that, with a thought, the 4 people walked out of the space. As soon as they came out of the space, Zhao Hai immediately released all the undead creatures they had captured. There were a total of 1,357 undead creatures. This number was not checked by Zhao Hai specifically, but how many he had collected. Undead creatures will be digitally recorded in the space warehouse, which is very trouble-free. When Zhao Hai released these undead creatures, the scene was huge. You must know that the undead creatures he caught were all very big. The least ones were probably humanoid undead creatures and some insect-like undead creatures. However, these 2 kinds of undead creatures are the least, and there are more undead creatures like aliens and big rats. Both of these things are very big. When they are released, it is simply an army of undead creatures, which is worse than the undead creatures. The ones made by the mercenary group are much better looking. Zhao Hai sat on the alien, with Meg sitting next to him, Merlin and Green sitting on the alien's head. Then Zhao Hai waved his hand, and the mighty army of undead monsters rushed straight towards the slope. Zhao Hai and the others had just seen that the undead army brought by the undead mercenary group this time had more than 3,000 people, and there were also some undead creatures like dogs, chickens, sheep, cows, pigs, and other domestic animals. It seemed that these guys slaughtered many villages to form such an army of undead creatures. Chapter 65-65 Volume 1, Chapter 65, The Sweet Lady of Heaven, Laura. Chapter 65, The Beloved Girl of Heaven, Laura. This is also a common method used by the undead mercenary group. They first kill all the people in the surrounding villages and turn them into an army of undead creatures, allowing them to attack the target. Although the level of these undead creatures is very low, their attack power is they are not weak either. You must know that the average strength of undead creatures is not small. In addition, they are not afraid of death or pain. When attacking, they are completely lifeless. They are opponents that no intelligent race wants to encounter. The Magidal family has a high reputation and strength on the mainland, so no one dares to attack them when their caravan travels. As time goes by, they will naturally relax a little, so there are not many people sent by each caravan. This time the Magidal family is going to Montenegro to conduct a secret transaction with a mysterious figure, and the object of the transaction is a necromancy ball. This necromantic sphere was found by a thief from an ancient tomb. This necromancy sphere has strong necromancy energy and can turn an ordinary undead creature into an intermediate or advanced undead creature. Although the Magical family really wanted to keep this treasure, the news was known to him by a very mysterious figure. The mysterious figure offered a large price to buy the magic ball. The Magical family had no choice but to agree. Yu Feng chose to trade in an unattended place like Haishan Fortress, because trading here would not attract people's attention. No one would have thought that they would bring such a treasure here for trading. But I don't know how this news was known to the people of the undead mercenary group, and the importance of this undead mercenary group to the undead mercenary group is self-evident, so the undead mercenary group wanted to rob it. This time, in order to prevent others from knowing that they were going to Montenegro for trading, the Magical family did not send many troops, pretending to be an ordinary caravan, and then spread the word. They said that the place where they traded the necromancy ball had been moved to another place. They thought it would be safe this way, but unexpectedly they were still blocked by the undead mercenary group. The 8 black magicians of the undead mercenary group naturally not only know how to turn people into undead creatures, but they also know a lot of black magic. You must know that they were also very powerful black magicians in the past. In addition to commanding an army of undead creatures, in addition to attacking the Magical family's caravan, they also used black magic to attack the caravan from time to time, which put a lot of pressure on the caravan. Of course, the Magical family would not just send some ordinary mercenaries to deliver the undead ball. The people they sent this time were also experts from their family. But these masters couldn't stand up to the large number of people, not to mention that the ones attacking them were not humans, but undead creatures. In addition, 8 people from the undead mercenary group used black magic to sneak attack on them, making them miserable. Laura stood on the carriage, holding a wooden box in her hand. The box was not very big, about 20 cubic centimeters, and it didn't seem to be very heavy. It's effortless for girls to hold it in their hands. Laura is the daughter of Karen, the second heir of the Marketal family. Karen Marketal is a magician. He is 40 years old today. The level of magician has just reached level 6. Such a speed of training cannot be achieved at all. Not slow, but definitely not fast. He is not a natural type, but he really likes to practice and study magic, and he has no interest in doing business. The Magical family is a well-known business family on the mainland. They do not pay much attention to the level of warriors or magicians of the family heirs. What they value more is the business ability of the family heirs. This makes Karen's position in the family seems a bit embarrassing. However, Karen gave birth to a good daughter, Laura. Laura is only 17 years old today, but she is a famous genius on the mainland. Not only is she a genius in training, but she is also a genius in business. What Laura studied is not ordinary. Martial arts and knight skills are more difficult to practice than ordinary martial arts and have very high requirements for practitioners. Laura is already a level 6 warrior today. She is good at using 4 types of warriors, including spear, tower shield, horsebow, and scimitar, and is also very strong. But if you look at her appearance, you would never think that she is such a master. She has skin as white and delicate as snow, long golden wavy hair, and a pair of dark blue eyes. The most unforgettable thing is her height, which is more than 1 meter and 80. Such an identity makes many men are daunted by her, let alone her prominent family background and strong martial arts skills. The most talked about thing is that Laura is also a business genius. She is very talented in doing business. She started helping her father with some business matters at a young age, and she did it very well. For such a beautiful girl from heaven, most people can't even feel jealous because she is so excellent. If a person is only a little better than you, you will be jealous of him, but a person who is better than you will be jealous. There are too many of them, and they are not on the same level as you, so you won't be able to feel any jealousy. The Magical family is different from other ordinary families. Each heir of their family will manage part of the family's property. When the head of the family is selected, it will be seen who manages the property best and makes the most profits. The elders collectively decide who to pass on the family position to. Originally, Karen, the second heir, only had a name. Everyone in the Magical family knew that his business ability was not good and he had no competition for the position of head of the family. At most, he could only be regarded as a member of the group who trained the prince to study. But since Laura helped Karen manage the business, the income from Karen's businesses has increased year by year, and now it is no worse than the other heirs. The family property that Karen was assigned was mainly concentrated in the Principality of Versailles, so this transaction was handed over to Karen. Of course, Laura had to be the one to complete the transaction in the end. Laura never thought that all her arrangements would be in vain. In the end, the people of the undead mercenary group were blocked here. Laura knew that this time it might be really dangerous. Although Laura is a 6th level knight, so far she has not found a riding beast that truly belongs to her, and she has never participated in a real battle. The price of his 6th level knight is completely affordable. Although she had good strength after taking the exam, in real fighting, she was much worse than those mercenaries who licked blood from their sword heads every day. In addition, now that they are surrounded by undead creatures, she can't run away even if she wants to. For the first time, Laura felt so desperate, and for the first time, she felt that death was so close to her. Laura bit her lips hard, and her delicate red lips were already bleeding from her bite. At this moment, the scene that destroyed Laura's last hope appeared. Behind the army of undead creatures, a large number of undead creatures appeared. Each of these undead creatures was tall and large, and their whole bodies glowed with a strange aura. Green, at first glance, was more difficult to deal with than the undead creatures besieging them. Laura's face turned pale, and she knew that she would not be spared today, but in this way, not only did she not collapse, but it actually aroused her fighting spirit. When people are desperate, they often have two manifestations. Either they completely collapse, lose all low resistance capabilities, and let others slaughter them. The other manifestation is to rebel in anger. Even if they die, they have to drag someone with them. The backup person, and Laura is obviously the latter. Just when Laura was about to fight to the death, she suddenly discovered that the undead creatures that came later were attacking the undead creatures that besieged them. This time, not only Laura was stunned, but all the people in the Magital family were stunned. Their brains couldn't react for a while. What happened? Could it be that there was internal strife in the immortal mercenary group? Laura didn't think so. She was a smart person. She could see that the undead creatures that followed were not at the same level as the undead creatures that besieged them. The undead creatures that besieged them looked like they were nearby. People, the weapons in their hands are mostly farm tools, except for humanoid ones. The others are mostly domestic monsters. But these monsters that came later were all very powerful monsters, and their green bones made it obvious at first glance that they were poisonous and not easy to mess with. Under the gaze of Laura and the others, green undead creatures continued to pour in, and the total number actually reached more than 1,000. At this time, they eliminated nearly half of the undead creatures that besieged them, and the undead creatures besieging them were disappearing at a rapid speed. Laura had been paying attention to the green undead creatures. She believed that someone to help them would appear soon. As expected, a huge undead creature appeared on the slope after a while. The undead creature appeared on the slope. The creature may not be the biggest of all the green undead, but there are people on that undead. Laura looked over carefully and found that there were 4 people on the undead creature. 2 stood on the head of the undead creature. One was wearing a full-body infantry armor, the other was wearing a magic robe, and the other 2 were obviously sitting in the chest of the undead creature. One was wearing a black magic robe and looked very strange. The other was dressed as a maid and was sitting next to the black magician. Laura knew that the real master was coming, but at this moment, a sudden change occurred and several black lights shot directly at the 4 people. Laura's expression changed. She knew that the people of the undead mercenary group had taken action. The undead mercenaries, the people in the group, must have hated those 4 people. It was those 4 people who ruined their good deeds. Laura couldn't help but nervously said loudly, "Be careful." But she didn't expect that she was so far away from those 4 people. I couldn't hear what she was shouting. Chapter 66-66 Volume 1 Chapter 66 Raid Chapter 66 Raid. Seeing that those black lights were about to hit Zhao Hai and the 4 of them, a layer of aqua blue shield suddenly appeared outside the alien. The shield seemed to be a thin layer and still transparent. But those few black lights hit the shield, but they couldn't do anything to the shield. As soon as the 8 black lights disappeared, Green, who was standing on the head of the alien, suddenly threw himself in the direction of the black light. Although Green was still wearing the armor at this time, he was surrounded by a light blue fighting spirit. He stood up, and his speed was very fast. In just a blink of an eye, he disappeared in front of everyone. At the same time, Merlin said to Zhao Hai in a deep voice, "Master, go back." Zhao Hai also knew that he must listen to Merlin at this time, so he immediately commanded the alien to go back. At this time, several more black lights shot towards them, but at the same time Zhao Hai also noticed that the undead creatures he released had already destroyed the undead army of the undead mercenary group. Zhao Hai immediately commanded his own. Those undead creatures rushed in the direction of those black lights. Zhao Hai and the others had already retreated behind the slope, and the 8 black magicians had also hid in the woods, so Laura and the others could not see their movements at all. Zhao Hai released all the monsters this time and discovered the difference. Some time ago, he only collected the monsters and did not release them all. Now that he had released them all, a screen suddenly appeared in front of him. Projection, small dots of different colors of light flashing on this projection. The red dots represent them and the undead creatures he released, while the green dots represent the people of Magital Trading Company. There are also several small black dots. But it's hidden in the woods. Zhao Hai tried to direct the undead creatures to rush towards a black spot. As expected, the undead creatures took action and immediately rushed towards a black spot. As soon as Zhao Hai saw that he was able to command, he immediately stopped the undead creatures. He counted the black dots. There were exactly 8. One of them seemed to be entangled with a red dot. Zhao Hai took a look and saw that it was green. In the direction they went, there was another black spot heading in that direction, while the other 6 black spots were approaching them, and it seemed they wanted to deal with them. Zhao Hai immediately commanded the undead creatures to be divided into 7 teams, 6 of which had 200 in each team, and went straight to the 6 black spots. Zhao Hai asked the remaining 157 to go to his own, leaning closer. He was preparing to let these undead creatures protect him. Meg then softly recited a few spells, and then a shield of light energy appeared around them, protecting the 2 of them. Meg did not add a shield to Merlin, because Merlin G believed that Merlin could handle it, and her main task was to protect Zhao Hai. Sure enough, with Zhao Hai's order, the undead creatures were immediately divided into 7 teams. One team returned directly to them and surrounded them to protect them. The other 6 teams separately attacked the 6 black spots. Pounce! The 6 black spots also discovered Zhao Hai's intention. They immediately accelerated their speed and rushed towards Zhao Hai and the others. In their opinion, only by getting closer to Zhao Hai and the others could they have hope of winning. If they were really defeated, if those undead creatures were to surround them, they would be killed sooner or later by Zhao Hai and the others. The immortal mercenary group has gone through countless dangers, but the most dangerous one they encountered was the pursuit of the Xenia family. When these people were alive, everyone's cultivation reached the level of a 7th level black magician. But after being hunted down by the Xenia family, they all turned into undead creatures. Now their true level is about level 6 magicians. If the black magic is not too weird, they would not be able to do anything. They are rampant across the continent. The person who chased them last time was an 8th level strawman. However, the 8th level strawman did not fight them head-on at the beginning, but used assassination methods to kill 3 of them first, and then started to hunt them down. If the other party had not resorted to assassination, they would have been confident that they could fight head-on without losing. However, after losing 3 people, they seemed to lack confidence when trying to fight head-on with the other party. This time, the situation they encountered was even more dangerous, because the opponent actually had 2 8th level experts and so many undead creatures participating in the battle. It can be said that their chances of winning were very low. The reason why they want to take the initiative to attack Zhao Hai and the others this time is not because they think they have the ability to kill Zhao Hai and the others, but because they want to see if they can escape from Zhao Hai and the others. Get life. Several people who have had many experiences against the enemy know very well that if they turn around and run away at this time, they will most likely be chased by Zhao Hai and the others and defeat them one by one, so they want to attack Zhao Hai first. They see what the outcome will be and then think of ways to escape. But they didn't expect that Zhao Hai and the others were waiting for them to get close to them. If they had just turned around and ran away, it would really be a trouble for Zhao Hai and the others. But when they came closer, they hit Zhao Hai and the others right in the face. No idea. Zhao Hai found that the black spots were not far away from them, and he quickly said to Merlin, "Grandma Merlin, they are here." Merlin nodded lightly. In fact, Merlin knew that they were coming without Zhao Hai reminding him. Merlin, an 8th level magician, was not fake, and she also had a lot of experience in fighting enemies. How could she not know that those guys were coming? However, what Zhao Hai found strange was that although he saw the people from the undead mercenary group approaching, he never saw their figures. On the projection in front of him, he could clearly see that those people had reached the periphery of the undead creatures protecting him. From such a distance, he should be able to see the other party's people, but now he couldn't even see them. I didn't see any shadows, which was really weird. Although Zhao Hai was curious, he also knew that now was not the time to ask, and he had just reminded Merlin. In addition, he now knew the locations of those people, so he was not very worried. The black spots were getting closer and closer to them, and now they were among the undead creatures protecting them, but the undead creatures did not react. As soon as Zhao Hai saw this situation, he understood that those people must have used some secret method to achieve the effect of invisibility, so the undead creatures did not notice them, and he could not see them. Zhao Hai did not take action immediately. He believed in Merlin. If Merlin couldn't even discover this, then she wouldn't be able to become an 8th level magician. After talking about Zhao Hai, there is one more useless trick, which is Alien. The alien is a mentally mutated undead creature. He can attack mentally, and what magicians fear most is naturally mental attacks, especially unexpected mental attacks, which all magicians are unwilling to encounter. Zhao Hai stared closely at the projection in front of him, ready to take action at any time, and he looked more like a black magician. In such an environment, he could sit there motionless, which made people feel very weird. Merlin actually felt those people coming in a long time ago, but she didn't move. She didn't pay attention to the 6-level black magicians yet. She just wanted those people to come closer, so that it would be more convenient to do it, and she had never worried about Zhao Hai's safety, because Zhao Hai still had Merlin by his side. If it didn't work, Zhao Hai could still enter the space, so she had nothing to worry about. At this moment, Zhao Hai suddenly found that those black spots had stopped, less than 10 meters away from him. Zhao Hai knew that the time had come and he shouted, "Attack." He was giving an order to the alien. In fact, he didn't need to shout out, but at this time he couldn't help but shout out. Firstly, this order was the simplest, and secondly, to cheer himself up. As soon as his words came out, Merlin was stunned. While he was casting magic, he suddenly felt a strong mental power burst out of the alien on his body and rushed towards the 6 people. Merlin was stunned and immediately understood what Zhao Hai meant. She immediately changed her magic. Originally, she had just used an attack magic to injure those guys first, and then captured them into Zhao Hai's space. But now she has changed her mind. She knows very well what the alien's spiritual attack means to a magician. Although she didn't know how Zhao Hai discovered those people, she didn't have time to think too much now. She immediately chanted a few spells softly and 6 water dragons appeared beside her and rushed towards the 6 people past. Just when Merlin's water dragon had just taken shape, almost in no particular order, 6 muffled sounds were heard, and then 6 figures appeared less than 10 meters to the right of Zhao Hai and the others, forming a semicircle. Form surrounded them in the middle, obviously preparing to use attack magic, but they suddenly encountered a mental attack, which caused them serious injuries. As soon as they appeared, 6 water dragons came to their side and entangled the 6 of them tightly. Zhao Hai immediately opened the space crack, and Merlin threw the 6 people into the space as quickly as possible. After all this was done, Zhao Hai and Merlin breathed a sigh of relief. The timing of their attack just now was really perfect. Just before the magic of those people was completed, a mental attack suddenly came. The guys were fooled in one go, and Merlin also seized the opportunity, trapping a few of them and sending them into the space, and the cooperation was quite perfect. The key here actually lies in the projection released from the space. The projection completely ignored the invisibility skills of those people. Their every move could not be hidden from Zhao Hai's eyes, so Zhao Hai only let him know at the most appropriate time. The alien used mental attack magic to make things go so smoothly, otherwise, there would have been a huge battle. Chapter 67-67 Volume 1 Chapter 67 Upgrading of Undead Creatures Chapter 67 Upgrading of Undead Creatures Laura's men gathered around her, and almost all of them had injuries. These people were Laura's most loyal men and they were her men, not from the Magical family. Laura understood when she was very young that the people sent to them by her family were not so reliable, so she has been working hard to cultivate her own power over the years. This time, the matter was of great importance, so she had to take it with her. She recruited her most loyal subordinates, and then brought along some masters sent to her by the family, but now the masters sent to her by the family are almost dead. Laura originally wanted her men to help, but when she saw the appearance of her men, she couldn't help but hold back. Now her men had almost no fighting power, and it would be in vain to go there. Zhao Hai had just brought the families of the undead mercenary group into the space when he heard the prompt sound coming from the space. It was discovered that an advanced robot-like object entered the space. The program has bad intentions for the space. Re-implant the program. The implantation is successful. The robot-like object has no toxins, which affects the attack power and strengthens the toxins. The new robot-like object program is advanced. The extraction program is injected into the original robot-like object in the space, and the robot-like object is strengthened. This prompt sound was not short, but Zhao Hai understood what it meant. He succeeded as expected. The 6 people in the undead mercenary group were indeed undead creatures. After entering the space, they were turned into his own by the space. And the 6 undead mercenary groups were not poisonous like the swamp undead creatures. The space actually strengthened the toxins on their bodies, making their attack power stronger. Then it was discovered that the 6 undead mercenary groups where the undead creatures are more advanced than the undead creatures in the space. According to their characteristics, the space environment has strengthened the level of the original undead creatures in the space. In other words, all the undead creatures he has conquered have been upgraded. Before Zhao Hai had time to be happy, he saw a green shadow shooting towards him, and said loudly when he was 10 meters away from him, "Young master." When Zhao Hai heard that it was Green's voice, he was still holding 2 black figures in his hands. It seemed that they were the remaining 2 members of the undead mercenary group. Zhao Hai thought, and a crack in the space appeared at once, and Green casually the 2 members of the undead mercenary group were thrown into the space. This time the space prompt sounded, but only the program was changed and the toxins were strengthened, and the rest were gone. At this moment, all the undead creatures around Zhao Hai suddenly shone with light. The light was very faint and very fast. If Zhao Hai was not sitting on the alien body, he would not have noticed it. When the light disappeared, Zhao Hai found that all the undead creatures present had changed. The green on their bodies was darker, and each of them seemed to be more agile, and the red soul fire in their eyes became more intense. This is even more true for the alien. His whole body turned dark green, except for a piece of white on the top of his head. The white seemed to be a pattern. The shape of the pattern resembled an eye, but the eyeballs in the eye were another more complex pattern. If you glance at it casually, you will think it is a static pattern, but when you stare at the pattern, you feel that the pattern seems to be moving, as if it is moving. It keeps spinning, as if it wants to suck your soul in. In addition, the shape of the alien has also become larger. The original 10-meter-long body has now become about 15 meters, and the height has reached 5 meters. And his chest has changed even more. Originally there are ribs in the chest, but now it has become a closed space. The ribs on both sides have become like walls. There are no gaps, but they are as transparent as green crystal, allowing Zhao Hai and the others to sit inside. Can be easily placed outside. The height of his chest is now 2 meters high, allowing Zhao Hai and the others to stand up and move around. The wooden planks that were originally laid there have also been moved to the ground outside by the aliens. Inside his chest is a completely dark green. This space is made up of crystal-like bones. This space is 2 meters high, 4 meters long and about 3 meters wide. The roof is arc-shaped and the ground is flat. The ground is also covered with those that Zhao Hai took out from the space. Cut and quilt. There is a bone armor on the neck of the alien. These bone armors are very strange. Each piece is not very big. There is a little gap in the middle, which will not affect the turning of the neck of the alien. But similarly, these few bones are not very big. The piece of bone armor can actually form a corridor-like thing, which can lead directly to the alien's mouth, and his skull is similar to the chest and ribs, becoming translucent, and you can see the outside. In addition, his mouth is very long. There is also a space 3 meters wide, 5 meters long, and more than 1 meter high. A person can sit there and see the situation outside. As long as he opens his mouth, Zhao Hai and the others can go outside. There are many new ferocious bone spurs growing on the alien's back. The bone spurs are shining with green light, and it is obvious at a glance that it has extraordinary attack power. On the alien tail, there are 3 spikes growing on each tail bone, pointing upward, left, and right respectively, which further shows his powerful lethality. Zhao Hai and Meg both stared blankly at the changes in the alien. They never thought that the alien would turn into this. It would simply become a weapon for home travel, murder and arson. Zhao Hai and Meg did not feel any discomfort during the entire change. Even if the wooden boards had been dropped to the ground by the aliens, they did not know it. What the two of them were less aware of was that Merlin and Green, who were standing on the alien's head, were even more surprised. Such changes in the alien were completely beyond their imagination. The most important thing was that the two of them were on the alien's skull. Zhao Hai and Meg can't be seen, which means that the bones on the alien body have become more like individual pieces of glass. It took a while for Zhao Hai to come back to his senses. With a thought, he immediately took back the other upgraded undead creatures into the space. At the same time, he loudly said to Green and Merlin, "Grandma Merlin, Grandpa Green, come in." Enter through the alien's mouth. There are 2 doors in this space, one in front and one in the back. The front door is where the alien's mouth is, and the back door is behind the alien's chest. Zhao Hai noticed that there are several ribs there that can be moved. As long as those ribs are opened, they can then walk out of the space from behind. But Zhao Hai didn't want to walk out of this space from the back. It didn't feel good, because Zhao Hai knew what the back of the animal was for. It was a place for defecation, and he didn't want to go out from there. The ceiling of this space seems to be very good, and you can't feel any wind, but similarly, you can't feel any stuffiness. Moreover, Green and Merlin heard Zhao Hai just as he spoke. It seems that the sound transmission is more effective. Good. Green and Merlin immediately jumped off the alien's head and walked to the alien's big mouth. The alien immediately opened its mouth. Green and Merlin walked from the alien's mouth to the space where Zhao Hai was. As soon as they entered the space of the alien chest, Green and Merlin were stunned. They really didn't expect that this space turned out to be like this. Wasn't this a big change? Zhao Hai looked at the 2 people, smiled slightly, and said, "I didn't expect that this place would suddenly become like this. Just after I brought those guys from the undead mercenary group into this space, the undead creatures were all upgraded, and then the aliens became like this, but it's better this way. In the future, Grandpa Green won't have to sit outside anymore, he can just sit here and see everything outside. Green nodded, took a look at the space and said, although it's not big here, you can see the situation outside. It's very good. By the way, Master, are we going to meet the people of the Magical family? Zhao Hai patted his head and said with a smile, I've forgotten all about this because of my happiness. Okay, let's go and meet them. After that, he directed the alien to climb up the slope. Laura and the others didn't know what happened behind the slope. They just saw a green shadow holding two black human-shaped objects in their hands and flashed behind the slope. Then all the undead creatures who helped them disappeared. Just when Laura was about to send someone to see what was going on behind the slope, a crocodile skeleton crawled out from behind the slope. Laura looked at the crocodile skeleton and felt it looked familiar. This skeleton seemed to be the one where the black magician who helped them was sitting, but its appearance had changed a lot, and it looked even more ferocious. Although Laura had not seen the alien carefully just now, she clearly remembered that there were no bone spurs on the alien's back, and they were not that big. However, Laura was still sure that this undead creature must be someone who helped her black magician is not from the undead mercenary group, because she has never seen such undead creatures in the undead mercenary group. If there were such undead creatures in the undead mercenary group, they would have been besieging them long ago. When the time comes, it should be dispatched. Laura's men also knew it, but they were still nervous for a while. After all, the appearance of the alien was really scary. The dark green bones shone coldly in the sunset, and the big mouth was nearly 4 meters long. A row of large fangs were exposed, which, like the bone spurs on his back, showed his huge lethality. His 4 legs were not tall, but they had sharp claws. They had no doubt at all that the dark green figure was almost the all-black clawser, so lethal. Such a monster was walking towards them, and without too many unnecessary movements, it had already created an intimidating aura that no one dared to look down upon. Laura's men tightly surrounded Laura's carriage, grabbing their weapons hard in their hands, but their hearts were already in their throats. Under their gaze, the alien stopped 5 meters in front of them, and then opened its mouth. This action made Laura's men nervous for a while, but then they saw the alien walking out of the alien's mouth. Green comes out. Chapter 68-68 Volume 1 Chapter 68 Idle? Chapter 68 Idle? Green glanced at Laura, who was surrounded by people, and said in a deep voice, Hello, friends from the Marketal Chamber of Commerce. My husband wants to meet the person in charge of your business. Green changed his name to Mr. Zhao Hai out of consideration for their current identities. Now Green plays the role of a follower of a magician. Followers of a magician generally call the magician Mr. This is also considered as a compliment to the magician. A kind of respect. Laura certainly understands what Green means. She is agreeing, but she is hesitant. Now she is carrying a valuable treasure. If the other party is also here for this treasure, wouldn't it be too dangerous for her to follow Green? Green is a human spirit, and he can understand what Laura means at a glance. He doesn't mean to blame Laura. After all, people's hearts are sinister, and this is human nature. Although Laura was not going to follow Green to see Zhao Hai no matter what, the other party saved her, and it would be unreasonable if she did not thank him, so Laura jumped out of the car and walked up to Green. He bowed to Green and said, Mighty warrior, please accept Laura Machidal's most sincere gratitude. I wonder if I can have the honor to invite that distinguished magician to come out and meet him? Although Laura said this very politely, her meaning was also very clear. That is, I can't go with you. If you want to see me, please come out and see me. Green glanced at Laura, nodded, turned around and walked in from the alien's mouth. Green also felt that he should meet Laura, although they didn't know why Laura and the others were attacked by the undead mercenary group. But being able to meet Laura and establish a relationship is very beneficial to the Buda family. In the room inside the alien body, Zhao Hai, Merlin, and Meg were standing there waiting for Green. Originally, Zhao Hai wanted to go out directly to see Laura, but Green thought that doing so would lose his identity, so he must let Zhao Hai see is waiting here. Green walked up to Zhao Hai and said, Master, the person leading the team outside is Laura, a talented girl from the Magical family. When we meet her later, if she asks about the undead mercenary group, you can tell us that if you are repelled, don't say that we have conquered them all. Zhao Hai nodded and said, Don't worry, Grandpa Green, I know what to say. After saying that, he followed Green and Meg outside, but Merlin did not follow. Laura stood there a little uneasily. She didn't know how the magician would reply to her. She knew that it was rude to do so, but there was nothing she could do. She had a precious treasure and she really couldn't take risks. But she also knew that black magicians usually have weird tempers. She didn't know if she would offend the black magician by doing this. If the black magician dealt with her, she might not be able to leave this place today. Laura couldn't help but regret when she thought of this. She really should have promised the other party just now to go see the magician with him. If the other party really wanted to steal the Necronomicon ball, she wouldn't be able to keep it with her current strength. Just when Laura was filled with regret, she suddenly noticed that 3 people walked out of the mouth of the undead creature. The one walking at the front was the warrior who came out to see him before, and the one walking in the middle was a black man. Magician. This black magician is not very tall. He wears the longest black magic robe worn by black magicians and holds a magic wand in his hand. From Laura's business perspective, it could be seen at a glance that the magic robe on this magician's body and the magic wand in his hand were both cheap and of poor quality. But the temperament of this magician made Laura completely ignore these 2 things. The temperament of this magician was very unique. He seemed to be the most inconspicuous person, but at the same time, he seemed very unique. This is a very contradictory temperament, but in this person, it seems so coordinated. At the same time, Laura also noticed a detail, which was the hand of the black magician. Although the magic robe worn by the black magician covered his entire body, his hand holding the magic wand was exposed. When she touched that hand, Laura's eyes couldn't help but shrink. There's nothing scary about that hand. It's not skinny or wrinkled. It's a man's hand. The skin is very white, with no calluses. The texture of the skin is very delicate. You can tell at a glance that it's been taken care of. Very good. The most important thing is that this hand reflects the age of its owner. Laura could easily tell from this hand that the owner of this hand could not be more than 30 years old. Oh my god. What is the concept of a senior black magician who is no more than 30 years old? That equals the top powerhouse on the continent, equals power, and equals an infinitely bright future. For a big family, such a person is equal to a talisman and an opportunity for the family to grow and develop. However, Laura has also helped the family manage the business for several years and has seen all the big scenes, so she was just stunned for a moment, and then returned to normal immediately. Unlike Laura, Zhao Hai is also very excited now. He is so excited not for other reasons, but because of Laura's appearance. Laura is very beautiful, but Zhao Hai, who is used to seeing all kinds of beauties on Earth, is not excited by this. The reason why he is excited is that Laura looks too much like the same person. When Zhao Hai was on Earth, he was an otaku. He liked listening to music very much, but because of his low cultural level, under normal circumstances, he would only listen to some Chinese songs. He knew a lot about foreign singers few. But by accident, he knew a name, Taylor Swift, the little queen of American country music. When he knew Taylor, Zhao Hai was almost in his 20s, and Taylor was not yet 20 at that time. But with a sweet appearance and a very beautiful singing voice, Zhao Hai quickly fell in love with this singer, and his computer desktop used Taylor's photo. Laura's appearance is almost carved out of the same mold as Taylor. They are so similar. Zhao Hai checked Taylor's information and found that Taylor's height is more than 1 meter and 80 centimeters. Such a height is enough to make ordinary men feel ashamed. And Laura is also so tall, blonde and blue-eyed, simply the same. The only difference is that because Laura practices martial arts, she has a heroic spirit that Taylor does not have. This makes Laura inexplicably attractive. As long as a man sees her, he wants to conquer her. How could Zhao Hai not be excited when he saw his idol standing in front of him alive? Although he knew that the person in front of him was not Taylor, he couldn't help but be excited. The two looked so similar. Fortunately, the magic robe he wore blocked his face. If he were not there, Laura would definitely see Zhao Hai looking at her infatuatedly, which would greatly damage Laura's impression of Zhao Hai. Laura took a deep breath, walked up to Zhao Hai, bowed deeply to Zhao Hai and said, "Dear Mr. Magician, thank you for your help. Please accept my most sincere gratitude." Zhao Hai came back to his senses. He also took a breath and slowly calmed down. In his last life, he was almost 30 years old. At his age, it was like liking that star, and he didn't it would be too crazy, but a rational liking. In addition, he now knows that the person standing opposite him is not Taylor, but Laura. Zhao Hai said calmly, "Miss Laura, you're welcome. We just happened to catch up. The undead mercenary group is notorious on the mainland. It is necessary to eliminate them. Unfortunately, they were allowed to run away in the end." Laura was stunned. She could see Green holding 2 human-shaped objects in his hands behind the slope, but she didn't have too much doubt. The name of the immortal mercenary group was there. If it was so easy to deal with, the undead mercenary group had been wiped out long ago. Moreover, Laura also confirmed her previous guess that this black magician was not very old. This was confirmed once again by his voice. Laura smiled and said to Zhao Hai, "Don't be sorry, Mr. Magician. If the undead mercenary group was so easy to deal with, they wouldn't have been rampant on the mainland for so long. I'm really sorry this time. You helped us. The people of the immortal mercenary group will definitely remember you. I am afraid that you will have more troubles in the future, but please don't worry, Mr. Magician. As soon as I return to the family, I will send the masters of the family to eliminate them. Immortal mercenary group, sir, please rest assured. Zhao Hai smiled slightly and said, Miss Laura is too polite. I haven't paid much attention to the undead mercenary group yet. Miss Laura doesn't need to worry. When Laura heard what Zhao Hai said, she couldn't help but nodded. If someone else said this, Laura might not believe it, but when Zhao Hai said it, he believed it because she had seen how powerful Zhao Hai and the others were. An 8th level warrior, and the undead creatures summoned by Zhao Hai alone are enough for those guys in the undead mercenary group to drink a pot. At this time, Green looked at the sky, turned to Zhao Hai and said, Sir, it's getting late. Should we hurry up? Zhao Hai knew what Green meant and they should leave now. This time they just wanted to have contact with the people of the Marketal family, but they would not have too deep interactions, because Zhao Hai did not want the people of the Marketal family to think that they threatened to repay the favor. When Zhao Haigang was about to intervene, Laura immediately said, Mr. Magician, we are going to camp here today. If you don't mind, please stay here today. I will treat you to dinner tonight to express my gratitude to you. Zhao Hai shook his head and said, Miss Laura is interested, but you have a lot of things to do, so we won't stay. Let's meet again when we have a chance in the future. After saying that, he turned around and walked towards the alien. Laura was anxious, and quickly took 2 steps to grab Zhao Hai's magic robe and said, Sir, please wait a moment. With this pull, Laura was naturally closer to Zhao Hai, and Laura didn't know if it was her imagination. I smelled a fresh smell from Zhao Hai's body. The smell was just like when you were standing on the grassland in spring. It made people feel energetic and full of vitality. Chapter 69 69 Volume 1 Chapter 69 Everyone has their own plans. Chapter 69 Everyone has their own plans. It was a strange feeling. Laura had never thought that just a smell could make her think of so many things. In Laura's impression, smells seemed to only have simple feelings such as fragrance and smell, but she felt that the smell of Hai made her feel energetic. Laura was stunned for a moment, but Zhao Hai stopped. He turned to look at Laura's beautiful face and said calmly, Miss Laura, is there anything else? Laura came back to her senses, her face turned red. She quickly let go of Zhao Hai's clothes, bowed to Zhao Hai and said, I'm sorry, Mr. Magician, may I know your name? Zhao Hai chuckled and said, Of course, my name is Zhao Hai. What Zhao Hai posted was his name on Earth. If he said he was Adam Buddha, he would be hunted down immediately. Not that idiotic. Laura took out a gold medal from her arms, held it in her hand, and said to Zhao Hai, Mr. Zhao Hai, this is the VIP gold medal of our magical Chamber of Commerce. With this gold nugget, you can go anywhere on the mainland. You can get a 20% discount on purchases at a magical trading house in the Principality of Versailles. You can get a 50% discount on purchases at a magical trading company in the Principality of Versailles. If you are selling things to a trading house, you only need to take if it is used. The commercial bank will purchase your goods at a price 1 level higher than the purchase price. Although I know that this cannot be compared with your kindness in saving me, but it represents my heart. Please accept it. Down. After speaking, Laura bowed and raised the gold medal in her hand high above her head, holding it like this without standing up. Zhao Hai's height is only over 1.7 meters, less than 1.8 meters, while Laura's height is over 1.8 meters. This originally made Zhao Hai very stressed, but Laura bowed like this, but it was suddenly a section shorter than Zhao Hai, which actually made Zhao Hai a little uncomfortable. Zhao Hai also wants to get this gold medal. With this gold medal, it will be more convenient for him to do things in the future. Zhao Hai also sees that Laura and the others must have something very important this time, otherwise it will not be like this. They rushed to Haishinsai in a hurry. Now they suffered heavy losses, but they had no intention of turning back. Instead, they wanted to stay in camp, and it seemed that they would continue their journey tomorrow. This was enough to show that they were very anxious, so Zhao Hai didn't bother much. He smiled slightly, reached out and took the gold medal and said, Thank you, Miss Laura. After saying that, he took a careful look at the gold medal. This gold medal was only the size of a palm, made of pure gold and had a beautiful shape. It looks like a blooming flower from the other side of the world. It is very refined. In the center of the gold medal, the 4 words Macatal are written. When Laura saw Zhao Hai taking the gold medal, she straightened up and let out a sigh of relief. She was really afraid that Zhao Hai would not accept the gold medal. Laura gave Zhao Hai this gold medal not entirely out of gratitude, but more importantly because she wanted to build a relationship with Zhao Hai through this gold medal. You must know that in her opinion, Zhao Hai is a high-level black magician, and he is so young. In addition, there are high-level warriors like Green beside him. If he has a relationship with Zhao Hai, it will be a big deal for her, a good thing. In Arc Continent, strength is respected. If Laura can become friends with a high-level black magician like Zhao Hai, it will also have a great impact on her status in the family. So when she saw Zhao Hai accepting the gold medal, she felt relieved in her heart. As long as Zhao Hai accepted the gold medal, she would use it, so that she could find Zhao Hai and slowly get closer to him. Zhao Hai looked at the gold medal and put it into his sleeve. In fact, he threw it directly into the space, using his sleeve as a cover. After collecting the gold medal, Zhao Hai said to Laura, "Miss Laura, you have a lot of things to do, so I won't delay you anymore. Let's meet again when we have a chance in the future." After saying that, he turned around and left. This time he didn't stop him, but just said to Zhao Hai's back, "When you have time, Mr. Zhao Hai must go to Markidal Trading Company to find me. You just need to go to a store of the Markidal family and you can know my identity." Information. Zhao Hai did not turn around, just waved his hand gently and crawled in from the alien's mouth. Meg and Green also followed Zhao Hai and entered the alien's body, and then the alien quickly left the battlefield. Laura looked at the direction in which the alien was going, and couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. At this time, a girl of 15 or 16 years old walked up to Lao Shen. She was holding a box containing a necromancy ball in her hand, and she was wearing a maid uniform. He is only about 1.6 meters tall. With his height, standing next to Laura, he looks petite and cute. The girl walked to Laura and said to Laura, "Miss, do we really want to camp here?" Laura glanced at the corpses and broken bones on the battlefield and said with a cold light in her eyes, "Of course, rest here for one night, and get up and go on the road tomorrow morning. We have to reach Montenegro Fortress as soon as possible." "Sir, send people to Tupo, let's see later, things are not that simple this time." A warrior responded, turned around and ran behind the slope. Laura turned to the little girl dressed as a maid and said, "Nier, did you scare you?" Although Nier's face turned pale, she still shook her head firmly. Laura looked at Nier's appearance, touched her head distressedly and said, "Don't be afraid, Nier, don't be afraid, I won't let you go even if I'm here." Things like this happen. Although Nier is nominally Laura's maid, the two grew up together and are more in love than sisters. Because of Laura's strength, she has always appeared as her sister, so at this time, although Laura she was also sad, but she still comforted Nier. In fact, Laura knew in her heart that they were probably being tricked this time. The matter this time was of great importance. Only a few core figures in the family knew about their route and the entire plan, but the immortal servant the core was able to ambush here several days in advance, so they obviously knew their plan. There is no prophet among the orcs in the immortal mercenary group. It is impossible for them to guess their entire plan by just guessing. Someone must have told them the plan, and this person is also a core figure in the Magidal family. Although Laura is still not sure who this person is, at least the range can be determined. In fact, Laura also understood that there were more than one or two people in the family who were looking forward to her death. Her father was the second heir and was originally uncompetitive. However, since she took over the family business, his father became the second heir. The position of the second-in-line heir is more stable, and it also puts a lot of pressure on the other heirs. In a big family, what is the cruelest thing? Undoubtedly, the competition for family position is the most cruel. Although Laura is not very old, she has slowly understood this truth since she took over the family business. However, she did not expect that this time the family would the people here do such amazing things. At this moment, Laura has made up her mind. No matter what she does in the future, she cannot rely too much on her family. The family is the most unreliable at this time. This is also one of the reasons why Laura wants to win over Zhao Hai. If the family is really unreliable in the future, with the support of Zhao Hai, a powerful magician, Laura can stand up on her own without fear of the family's revenge. Zhao Hai didn't know what Laura was fighting for, because he didn't know what the undead mercenary group was trying to rob this time, but he should know it soon. Zhao Hai and the others quickly left the battlefield, and Green and the others gathered in the room inside the alien body. Zhao Hai flipped his hand and took out the gold medal, handed it to Green and said, "Grandpa Green, look at this gold medal. With this gold medal, will our plan be smoother?" Green took the gold medal, looked at it carefully, and said, "Yes, with this gold medal, plus we have a great favor to Laura, it will be of great help to our future development." Laura is a member of the Magidal family. The daughter of the second heir, she has been taking care of the Magidal family business here in the Principality of Versailles, and this place is very beneficial to us. Zhao Hai frowned and said, "Will anyone suspect us?" Green shook his head and said, "Probably not. Young master, didn't we take in the people from the undead mercenary group this time? As long as we sell the carrots and return to the Black Earth wasteland, you will immediately let the members of the undead mercenary group go." A guy went into the carrion swamp to conquer the undead creatures, and at the same time release the undead creatures we received, making it look like the undead creatures from the carrion swamp were still wandering in the Black Wasteland. I don't think anyone would be able to do so easily. Once we enter the Black Earth Wasteland, we will be safer. The more undead creatures the people of the undead mercenary group receive, the safer we will be. Zhao Hai nodded, and with a thought, 8 people from the undead mercenary group appeared in front of him. Fortunately, the room in the alien body was not too small, otherwise it would really not be able to accommodate so many people. These 8 people all wore black magic robes similar to those of Zhao Hai, but they did not hold magic wands in their hands. As soon as they came out, they immediately saluted Zhao Hai, and then Zhao Hai heard the 8 people say in unison, "Master." Zhao Hai nodded and said, "Take off your hats." The 8 people took off their hats as instructed, and 8 skulls appeared in front of Zhao Hai and the others. The skulls were like dark green crystals. A kind of crystal beauty and the red soul fire in their eyes add to their strangeness. Zhao Hai nodded and said in a deep voice, "Why are you attacking Laura?" The wisdom of these 8 people was obviously not affected too much. One of them immediately said, "Master, we got the news from a person from the Magical family. Laura and the others have a necromancy ball in their hands. To raise the level of undead creatures, that's why we took action." Zhao Hai was stunned and said, "You mean you got the news from the people of the Magical family? Who told you?" At this moment, Green suddenly interrupted, "Master, what are you talking about? Can they talk?" Chapter 70 Hack 70 Volume 1 Chapter 70 Mysterious Forces Chapter 70 Mysterious Force. When Green asked, Zhao Hai was stunned. They had already spoken several words, but Green actually asked these 8 guys if they could talk at this time? Isn't this too strange? Could it be that Green and the others couldn't hear him? Zhao Hai turned to look at Green and said, "Grandpa Green, we have already said several words. Didn't you hear it?" Green and the others all shook their heads, and now Zhao Hai was sure that it turned out that Green and the others really couldn't hear the conversation between him and the undead mercenary group. When Zhao Heizhang was puzzled, Merlin said, "Okay, don't ask. They are undead creatures. How can they talk? However, they are all advanced undead creatures and can directly contact the young master through their mental power. This makes the young master feel it was like they were talking into her ears, but they made no sound." When Merlin said this, Zhao Hai and the others understood. Zhao Hai nodded, turned to look at these immoral black magicians and said, "Since you have already called me master, don't use your previous names. Let me give you some names. Who of you is the boss?" The skeleton who just spoke to Zhao Hai took a step forward and said, "Master, I am." Zhao Hai nodded and said, "Okay, then from today onwards you will call me Xiao Zui Zui. The second child will be called Zhao Pai. The third child will be called Zhao Shan. The fourth child will be called Zhao Feng. The fifth child will be called Zhao Chong. And the 6th child will be called Zhao Lu. The 7th child will be called Zhao Kai. And the 8th child will be called Zhao Lion." The 8 people responded in unison. Although their wisdom was not greatly affected, the space had already made them recognize Zhao Hai as their master. Of course they would not refute Zhao Hai's words. Zhao Hai saw that they agreed, and then continued, "Answer the question I just asked. Who told you that Laura has a necromancy ball in her hand?" Zhao Zui said quickly, "Master, we heard the news from a not-so-important peripheral member of the Magical family. We didn't believe it at the time, but what he said was so true. We all want to improve our strength. So we took action." Zhao Hai nodded. He had probably figured it out. It was just another trick of the family's internal struggle. It was nothing special. Zhao Hai turned to Zhao Zui and said, "Call me young master from now on. You have robbed a lot of good things over the years? Where are all those things?" Zhao Zui immediately said, "Young master, although we have been robbing outside for so many years, we can rarely keep the things we robbed. We have given them to our previous masters." Zhao Hai was stunned for a moment, then his expression changed and he said, "Previous master? Have you recognized others as your master before?" "When?" Zhao Zui said quickly, "Master, you misunderstood. It's not that we recognized others as our masters, but that we were adopted by our previous masters since we were young. He also gave us our magic. When we learned enough, he sent us out to form an immortal mercenary group to help him make money, and we have been doing so until now." After hearing Zhao Zui's words, Zhao Hai not only did not feel relieved, but his mood became even heavier. He quickly asked, "Who was your previous master?" Zhao Zui shook his head and said, "We don't know. We rarely see him. He is always taken care of by a servant. Even when we see him, he is wearing a black magic robe, covering his whole body. We cannot see." Zhao Hai's heart became even heavier. He discovered that the force behind Zhao Zui and the others must not be that simple. A force could train Zhao Zui and the others from a young age until they became a 7th level magician. How much manpower would this require? Financial resources are not the most terrifying thing. You must know that only 1 in 10,000 people with magic talents on the mainland can choose, and black magic is a relatively partial and difficult magic to practice. To select people who are suitable for practicing black magic, then it's harder. But the force behind Zhao Zui and the others were able to select 8 of them at once, and they were all suitable for learning black magic. It seemed that their results were pretty good. How much force was needed just to select people? In cultivating them, this process requires more things, but the people behind Zhao Zui and the others have actually done it all, which shows that the other party's power is really great. Another point is that Zhao Zui and the others grew up together as 8 people, and it was obvious that their master did not live there. Does that mean that their master was probably somewhere else and had trained people like Zhao Zui? People like them? If this is really the case, then the matter is even bigger. When Green and the others saw that Zhao Hai's chest color was not good looking, they quickly said, "Master, what's wrong? Why do you look so ugly?" Zhao Hai glanced at Green and the others, and recounted the conversation he had just had with Zhao Zui, as well as his speculations. Green and the others' expressions also became heavy. Zhao Hai asked Zhao Zui again about the person who adopted them, but Zhao Zui didn't know either. They only knew that the person had adopted them since they could remember, and would let them out when they grew up. As a mercenary, after making money, you put the money in the place designated by that person. They rarely meet and have very little contact with each other. The other party doesn't have much contact with them at all, and they don't know the other party's situation. After finding that nothing could be asked, Zhao Hai took Zhao Zui and the others back into the space. After all, the room in the alien body was not that big. With so many people coming in at once, it seemed very crowded. Green and the others didn't say anything, but their expressions were not very good. They realized that this time they had really provoked a force that they shouldn't mess with. No one knew how big this force was and how powerful it was. No one knows what their purpose is, and no one knows, but what is certain is that this force is not simple. After a while, Green said, "Master, actually we don't need to worry too much. No one will think that we took care of the undead mercenary group. The Black Soil Wasteland is an existence forgotten by the mainland. When we return there, we will immediately let Zhao Zui and others go to the Carrion Swamp so that no one can find them, so we shouldn't have any trouble." Zhao Hai nodded. He also hoped that this would be the case. They are too weak now. If the force behind Zhao Zui and the others found out that it was Zhao Hai and the others who had taken care of the undead mercenary group, they would definitely come. To deal with Zhao Hai, I'm afraid they won't have to do it themselves. As long as a little news is released, the old nobles in the Aksu Empire will immediately come to deal with Zhao Hai and others, and they will be dead. Zhao Hai didn't want to talk about this matter anymore. He turned to Green and said, "Grandpa Green, when we go to Casa City this time, shouldn't we also make preparations in advance and find a place to store the radishes first, and then ask people from the Majdal family to pick it up?" Green nodded and said, "Yes, young master, don't worry. There are many manors and other places near Casa City. We can buy a small manor so that we can put the radishes in it. Let Majdal just let the family members come and get it." Zhao Hai nodded and said, "That's good. Although we have reached a preliminary agreement with them before, now that we have the gold medal in our hands, we should be able to raise the price, right?" Green smiled and said, "Yes, this gold medal is still of great help to us. If we go to them to do this business with the gold medal, we don't know what they will do. Especially Miss Laura, she has always been. I think you, young master, are a very powerful black magician, and now the black magician suddenly changed his career to selling vegetables. Hahaha, I think her expression must be very wonderful." When Zhao Hai and others heard what Green said, they all laughed. Now Zhao Hai is more determined to farm. Although they seem to be strong now, there are 2 8th level experts and 6 more. There are 6 level strong men, and there are so many undead creatures. But don't forget that their enemies are more powerful. Needless to say, the old nobles of the Aksu Empire. If those guys really knew that Zhao Hai had such a strong power, they would probably unite as soon as possible and use the power of the entire country to eliminate them. In addition, now they have provoked the unknown force behind Zhao Zui and the others. If that force really discovers the situation of Zhao Zui and the others, then Zhao Hai and the others will be doomed. It can be said that although Zhao Hai now has some power, if it were placed on the mainland, he could become a middle-level noble. However, a large part of his power cannot be seen in the light, and he will die if exposed to the light, so the only ability to keep a low profile. However, Zhao Hai didn't mind using the gold medal Laura gave him. The gold medal was given to him, and he used it. Anyway, his current identity is a black magician, and he is also called Zhao Hai. and this person does not exist on the mainland at all. Even if someone wants to trace it, the most they can do is find it at Montenegro and nothing else. With so much chaos in Montenegro, it would be even harder to find him, and no one would suspect the Buda family. After all, Yagwan drank the water of nothingness. Everyone on the continent knew this, and the aliens and the like were immortal. Creatures are now the best cover for his identity. No one would have thought that a person who drinks the water of void can also summon undead creatures. In this way, even if someone wants to check them, they will focus on Zhao Hai's identity and no one would notice the Buda family. In this way, Zhao Hai has two identities, one bright and one dark. When everyone is tracing the identity he puts on the bright side, the Buda family can hide in the dark and take advantage of the opportunity to develop. After experiencing the battle just now, Zhao Hai understood a truth more clearly. Strength is supreme, especially here in Ark Continent. If he didn't tell the truth, would Laura be so polite to him? If he has no strength, Laura will give him the gold medal? If he didn't have the strength, he wouldn't be able to conquer Zhao Zui and the others. If he didn't have the strength, no matter how much money he made, he would be robbed sooner or later.
Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the story, so please leave a comment below. And if you want more fanfiction audio, be sure to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.